Hello everyone, this is the life group study for the week of the 22nd of February, and we were continuing with our series on 1 Corinthians this week. So today we looked at 1 Corinthians 12 verse 1 to 11, and you might want to just reread that now, that section, just to remind yourself, or for anyone who wasn't there, Romans 12 1 to 11. And I called the talk a Bring In Share Church, and talked about how there's a variety of different gifts available to us. So we looked at the 9 within this chapter. So words of knowledge and wisdom, faith, healing, miraculous powers, prophecy, distinguishing between spirits, the gift of speaking in tongues, and then the interpretation of tongues. So as well, you might want to just take a moment to discuss those, just make sure there's clarity. If anyone's got any questions about the gifts, what they're for, they don't quite understand them, maybe just pause now and have a recap if anyone needs a bit more time to look at those specific gifts. Then you can take a moment to do that and discuss that now. And then one of my challenges was around taking some time to plan and prepare during the week. So often we come and we're distracted, and children and other things are going on a Sunday, and we're not necessarily always sort of in that place where we can hear God. And so it's just a gentle encouragement to take some time to ask God each week, what can I bring in Share Church this Sunday? What gift can I bring and contribute to the party? Not in a legalistic way, no one has to, but we get an opportunity to bless one another, just as we receive from others and they bring their gift and we get encouraged, so we can do the same with our gifts. The second point was that the gifts are for everyone. In verse 7, Paul says, to each one, the manifestation of the Spirit is given. So he doesn't say now to the leaders or to the spiritually mature ones, he says each one. And so everyone is included in this. No one is left out or overlooked. If you are a follower of Christ, these gifts are available to you. And God has placed something specifically in you that is for the good and the benefit of the church. Now, we won't get all the gifts, and not everyone will have every gift, but God has something for you. And then the third point was building up. So these gifts are given for the common good, he says in verse 7. So for edifying and encouraging and building up and strengthening the whole church, the whole body of believers. And I looked at 6 reasons why spiritual gifts are given. So these were building up the body, strengthening the weak, encouraging the discouraged, guiding the confused, healing the hurting, and revealing the presence of God among his people. And you might want to take a moment now as well to maybe share some stories of times when someone has brought an encouragement or a spiritual gift, a prophecy, a word of knowledge that's really, really impacted you. Maybe in one of these 6 different ways where you felt like you really encountered God's presence, or God really brought you wisdom through a spiritual gift. Maybe share some testimonies and stories of that for a moment. And then another challenge I sort of threw out was around, I talked about a story where I so often, most of the time, sort of disregard when I hear God speak because of many different barriers. I'm afraid, I don't want to do it, I just feel like I've not heard God, I doubt whether I've actually heard God, whether it's from him. And many of us wrestle with this, don't we? And I'm sure many of us have spiritual gifts, but sometimes there are barriers in using them. And so I just wonder if you want to take a moment to discuss what are your fears, what are the difficulties in using your gifts. And I think as we share those, we'll hopefully all feel like we're all in the same boat, and that will encourage us to just go for it. And that was my challenge as well, is just to take a risk, that we're in a safe place, in life group even. It doesn't start in the small, it doesn't have to be necessarily on a Sunday, but take a risk, a little seed of mustard seed of faith, and just see what God does with it. And so often it can seem like nothing to us, just a slight little whisper of a voice, doesn't seem like very much, but yet to somebody else, it's really significant and has a massive impact on them. And so that was the encouragement to just go for it, and who knows how God will use it. And then the last thing I looked at was just feeling like God is stirring us for spiritual gifts again. It's wonderful that we have so many spiritual gifts among us already, but have this sense that God wants to do more with us, particularly around prophecy and just going to another level of prophecy, and around physical healing as well. That perhaps God wants to help us to be a church who can hold the faith for healing alongside walking gently and groaning and grieving and waiting and just being sensitive and compassionate for those who don't receive healing. And just felt like God wants Gateway to try and sort of be a pioneering church in holding those things side by side and being able to demonstrate and live out both of those scriptural values, lament and healing and miracles. And so maybe you might want to have a little discussion around those, around prophecy and physical healing. And then it'd be great if you wanted to finish the evening by praying for one another, for God to pour out his gifts upon us. And maybe there's some gifts that have laid a bit dormant or got a bit dusty, and God just wants to bring those back to life. Maybe you've never received any of the gifts before, and perhaps there's one particular one that you'd really love God to give you. Perhaps you really want the gift of tongues. Why don't you take some time in your groups to pray for one another to receive the gifts of the Spirit. And I pray you have a blessed evening. Take care.